It is my honor to introduce Monica Wood, award-winning author, as recipient of our honorary degree of Doctor of Humane Letters and this year's commencement speaker. Monica Wood is a novelist, a memoirist, playwright, the 2024 recipient of the Sarah Josepha Hale Award for Excellence in the Arts in New England, the 2019 Constant Carlson Prize for contributions to the public humanities in Maine, and the 2018 Maine Writers and Publishers Alliance Distinguished Achievement Award for her contributions to the literary arts. Her newest novel, How to Read a Book, has already secured translation rights in 5 countries. Her previous novel, the best-selling The 1 in a Million Boy, was translated into 20 languages in over 30 countries. She is also the author of several books for aspiring writers and 3 plays, Papermaker, The Half-Light, and Saint Dad. She lives in Portland with her husband, Dan Abbott, and their cat, Susie. I now ask that President McDonald join me in presenting the honorary degree of Doctor of Humane Letters on behalf of the University of Maine at Farmington and the University of Maine Board of Trustees.
Monica Wood, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the University of Maine system, I have the honor to bestow upon you the honorary degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa. Congratulations.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, President McDonald, for inviting me to speak today and for conferring this honorary degree. I grew up not far from here in the town of Mexico. My sister Catherine graduated from UMF, as did her mother-in-law, Alice, and my husband's sister, Christine, and their grandma, Marie, back when UMF was Farmington State Normal School. One of my best friends, Lewis Robinson, teaches here. Okay. In other words, being honored in this way feels very much like a family affair to me, even a homecoming of sorts, and I'm grateful. I offer my warmest and best wishes to you, dear graduates, and to the families who made this joyful milestone possible for you. And for the first-generation graduates out there, well done. A couple of years ago, my husband and I were walking on Forest Avenue in Portland, heading uphill to run some errands downtown, when a block or so ahead of us, we spotted what looked like a person lying in the middle of the sidewalk. We were not alone on the street that day. Several people had passed the person by the time we got close enough to see that the person was a man, lying face up, wearing a green polo shirt and brand new jeans. On the ground next to him was an unopened six-pack in a torn paper bag. His eyes were closed. His hair was clipped short. I remember he had large, lovely hands. "Hey, you all right?" my husband asked as he checked for a pulse. The man had one. And for breathing, the man was breathing. Dan gently shook the man by the shoulder and spoke to him softly, then shook him harder and spoke to him loudly, but the man remained unresponsive. This would be an unrare story of life on a city street, except for what happened next. Just as every person walking ahead of us had passed this man by, every person who came up behind us stopped to ask how they might help. One person stepping up gave everybody else permission to do the same. There was really nothing much we could do at the moment besides call 911, so we all stood there in a little knot of helplessness until the ambulance arrived. The man was taken away by people who knew what to do, and that was the end of our obligation. I called the hospital and the police station later that day, but I never learned what happened to the man or what caused him to be lying on a sidewalk in Portland, Maine in the middle of a fresh spring day. It could have been a diabetic coma, maybe a seizure, maybe a drug overdose. I'll never know. What I do know is that when I first saw him lying there, my impulse, like that of the folks walking ahead of us, was to keep walking. I also know that the second my husband said, "Hey, you all right?" I understood that my first impulse was the wrong one, driven maybe by fear or confusion or an instinct for protecting the man's privacy, or maybe just the simple fact of not knowing what to do. The kindness my husband performed that day may have been futile. The man may have died, or he may be recovered within the hour and returned to the street. The point of this story is not the unknowable result of an act of kindness, but rather the act itself. The point is not what happened to this poor man, and I do wish I could tell you. It's about what happened to us, the helpers. It's about that little wing lift of feeling that visited us, 5 or 6 strangers who were suddenly no longer strangers, at least for those 15 minutes when we stood vigil over that man who didn't even know we were there. We didn't know each other's names. We'd likely never meet again. We went our separate ways, but not without a sense that something had happened to us, something that had connected us, if only briefly, in a way that mattered. Of course, you know that everyone here today wishes you success in your chosen path. But more than that, much more than that, we hope you find yourselves living a happy life. It's been very well documented that the key to human happiness lies not with the wealth we acquire or the deeds we accomplish, but rather with the quality and strength of our relationships, family, partners, best friends. Having these so-called strong ties improves not only our mental health, but our physical health as well. And that's not really surprising. What is surprising, at least to me, is the study of so-called weak ties, social interactions with strangers and acquaintances. In study after study from all over the world, researchers are concluding that people who have many daily weak tie interactions, as brief as waving hi to the neighbor or as complicated as helping a person in distress, report a higher sense of connectedness and well-being than those who have very few. In one study, a bunch of researchers distributed 60 gift cards outside a Starbucks in Vancouver. Half the recipients were instructed to get their coffee as efficiently as possible. Get in there, get out, no talking except for the basics. And the other half were instructed to take their time, to chat with the barista, maybe pick up a story or two. Afterward, they filled out a questionnaire, and the results will not surprise you. People in the chit-chat group reported a better mood and sense of belonging than those in the just the basics group. If on the day we found that man lying in the street, someone had given us a questionnaire before we dispersed, I'm guessing we would have given ourselves a 10 on sense of belonging. Like every generation before you, you are about to enter an adult world that by many accounts is a snake pit of insurmountable challenges. Because even after many millennia of practice, we humans just can't seem to get it right. A planet on the brink, a world at war, a country divided. How is happiness even possible in such circumstances? And yet, despite an astonishing inborn talent for screwing up our lives, we now have scientific evidence that happiness is possible. And it's not even that hard, because all these studies boil down to 4 words. Sweat the small stuff. Say please and thank you. Hold the door for the next person. Smile at the receptionist. Tip generously. Be the first one to ask, hey, you all right? And as for your strong ties, call your parents once in a while, for heaven's sake. Be present for your friends, and every single day, ask your dog, who's a good boy? And if you decide to share your life with a partner, choose someone who makes you want to be a better person. Life is hard. We need each other. Go on out there and do your best. Congratulations, and thank you.
Thank you, Monica. And I'd like to tell the story that Monica did not tell, but when she was in college, her mother died, and she had to leave college. And in order to finish, she took a course at another university called University of Maine at Farmington. And so she's now getting a degree from taking that course at Farmington. Just one course and a lifetime of achievement. So thank you, Monica.